All right, welcome to this week's press conference with head men's basketball coach Eric Peterson. Coming off a big two-game road wins last week with an overtime win at Kansas City and a huge interstate series win at South Dakota State on Saturday. Looking ahead this week to just a single game against the Fighting Hawks in the SCSC on Wednesday night. And with that, we'll open it up to comments from Coach and go to the media from there. Go ahead, Coach.
Yeah, really good week for the Yotes, getting two wins on the road. Winning on the road is hard. Winning college basketball is really hard. So to get those wins on the road were huge for our team. A little worried coming off a couple overtime games, just how our legs would be. We always say the legs feed the coyotes. Trying to stay fresh at practice and do some stuff that we can obviously get better, but we know with our roster we have to be fresh, and we came out in the first half against South Dakota State and obviously had a really good half. So talk about this a lot with our team, just not being like a one-half team. Over the last few games, we played really well in one half, and I'm excited to see our team when we put it together and play two full halves. So, got to keep going with this. This can't be the pinnacle of our season. We got a really good team coming here on Wednesday, and then obviously two road games next week, and there's not much left, and we got to keep working to get better.
And with that, we'll jump. Jay, do you want to go first?
Sure. Petey, what's the confidence level like in your locker room right now? I mean, I know these guys have been beaten up a little bit by everything that's happened, but stringing some together here in league play, and especially here of late, getting a couple on the road. So I think that's 3 wins on the road here all of a sudden, between that and Omaha. But how are they feeling? What's the mood like with that?
Yeah, obviously the more you win, the more confident you get. I always feel like confidence comes in the gym when you practice and you get extra work in. And, our practices aren't like super long, Jay. I mean, probably an hour at the most right now, or after Christmas. But certain guys get in and get extra work in on their own, whatever they need. And, I think they find tremendous joy in playing together. And you can see that. You see, Jordan has a tremendous attitude. You see Silas out there just happy that he can play college hoops again. Cam, he throws one down and smiles at the bench. And I don't know, I just think they're finding tremendous joy, and obviously that leads to confidence too.
Uzziah's long not played like a freshman, but, I mean, have you had a guy that has grown into a college basketball player as quickly as what he's had to do, especially playing the position that he plays?
Yeah, and it's different. The guy's actually on our staff now, Tristan Simpson. I would say his progress as a freshman was tremendous. He didn't start. Trey Dickerson was our starting point guard, but Tristan kind of made progress like that. I don't know if he was scoring 20 points a game, Jay, but his value to our team was tremendous when we won the league. So it's been a while. Obviously, the higher you go up, it's harder for freshmen to do that in the Mountain West or in the Pac-12. So not recently. And I would say Uzi's progress is probably even more than Tristan's was when he was a freshman point guard. And I would say the part that's most impressive, Jay, is he's a freshman and he's playing the hardest position on the floor as a point guard. And does he make some mistakes? Yeah. Does he take some bad shots once in a while? Yeah. But, man, for a freshman, especially a kid his size, his progress has been tremendous. And I always say you need skill development, you need playing time, and when you got both, you can really flourish. And he's gotten both, and it's been fun to watch.
Do you attribute any of that growth to Tristan and just having him on staff and having him be around him?
Yeah.
With the kind of the kind of guy that Tristan always was and is becoming as a coach?
Yeah, he's been tremendous for us. To have a freshman point guard playing for a team with a guy like Tristan, who's been a point guard here at a high level, obviously helps us a ton. Everyone probably doesn't see it, but during timeouts, the last person that Uzi probably talks to is Tristan. At halftime, some guys are getting extra shots up. Tristan has him, Jordan. Hey, they're asking questions to him like, hey, what do you see? And Tristan's a tremendous coach. Obviously, he's a young coach, but he's got a huge upside in coaching, and I obviously thought that when I coached him as well, because he's just such a smart dude. But to have Tristan obviously is a huge asset for us and for Uzi.
Looking at the Fighting Hawks, obviously you probably want to get one back after losing up there. What's got to go better this time?
Yeah, we weren't very good up there, and the way they play, they changed their style of play kind of like we did last year with the pressing piece. They're really aggressive in the half court defensively. They trap every ball screen. They force everything baseline, and they just really sped us up. So I would say just, taking care of the ball and just slowing down a little bit on offense. That style of play, you can be a little bit more physical because it's hard to call every single foul. So we know it's going to be a physical game. And the part that I'm excited about is we actually have more time to prep for it. We tried to prep for it early in the week, and then we had a one-day turnaround, at home, and then we got to get on the bus and get up there. So it's pretty tight turnaround there where I just didn't feel like we had enough prep. But huge key is taking care of the ball against their pressure. And then defensively, we were a train wreck. We couldn't keep them out of the paint. They were making threes, played more zone than we'd ever played in my career that game. So a lot has to go right for us against these guys because obviously they're really good. Paul's done a great job with that crew. So, but if we can get stops on defense, we'll try to figure out ways to score.
Anything specific that you need to do differently with Ullman?
Yeah, guard him. I think we did a very good job guarding him. And a lot of it stems on just guarding the ball, staying down on shot fakes, guarding the ball, and keeping people out of the paint. And when you keep people out of the paint, obviously you're not in rotation as much. Obviously the closeouts are shorter, but I just didn't think we guarded him. And maybe we didn't respect him enough in what he's capable of.
Yeah, good. Thanks.
Thanks, Jay.
James, got anything?
Let Trey go first.
All right, Trey, go ahead.
Perfect. Coach, obviously winning in Brookings for the first time in 25 years outside of that COVID season is a massive moment for your program and this year's group. Just what does that victory mean to you personally, and what can it do for the direction and confidence of this program moving forward?
Well, obviously a rivalry game. You always want to hold up your end of the rivalry, and I don't think we have done a great job with that over the past 5 or 6 years. Playing on the road is hard, and I mean it's been a long time since we've won there, and I don't know, it was special. It obviously was. I'll remember that probably the rest of my career. We did something that a lot of teams couldn't do for a long time, especially in the Division I era. So. Just happy for our team, happy for our program. Honestly, really happy for our fans, the people that made the trip up there. We had a bunch of volleyball players come up and cheer us on, and obviously some parents. So not a ton of fans. I told our guys before the game, it's going to be, 5,000 people wearing blue and about 30 wearing red. We actually watched the Gladiator Coliseum clip where they just talked about staying together. And, it was like us against the world type mentality. And I don't know if anybody thought, a month ago if we could even have a chance up there. But it's something I'll remember for a long time, and just really happy for our guys and obviously our fans for it.
Yeah, and obviously the season has been anything but smooth with all the injuries, and I don't want to keep repeating that, but kind of what has allowed you to keep this group competitive and productive night after night, especially as of late with, 3 straight road wins?
Yeah, I would just say belief in each other, trust in each other. They're confident. They love playing with each other and together. Like, it's been just fun to watch as a coach. Sometimes coaches get into just overcoaching every single possession, and I think they just trust each other, and you can just let them play a little bit. Obviously, call a play and just trust them to make the right read. But we just have some good leadership with our program, within our program, and honestly, we have really good coaches on staff too. Brandon's been here all 4 years. You hire a head coach, Coach Merkin from Minot State. They were a top 5 team in the country last year for most of the year. Sean was the D3 National Coach of the Year 3 years ago. We talked about Tristan. You can go right down the line. So having a good staff obviously makes the head coach look a lot better, and having good players does that too.
Yeah, and you've had to ask, different players to step into unfamiliar roles, I guess, at different times throughout the season. Kind of what have you learned about your roster through all of this, and how proud are you of the way the guys have kind of responded when their numbers were called?
Yeah, I'm proud because, the three guys that are scoring a lot of the points, it can go either way. Hey, there's pressure on you now. We don't have as many guys. We're going to throw the ball into you, Cam. Like, you got to be productive, and Cam has been very productive for us. Jordan, like, his role has changed tremendously with Isaac coming out, due to injury, and Jordan has answered the call. He's a scorer. He's been known to do that. He just has never done that in that role. And then we talked about Uzi as a freshman. Like, that's really hard. It's a lot of weight to put on somebody, and somebody so young, but he's shown his maturity through it. And then, like, really proud of just the guys around them. Those three guys get a lot of the credit, but I would say it's more the supporting cast that holds those guys together and holds our team together. At practice, just in different roles, like, we haven't really had a scout team because we don't have enough guys to have a scout team, and got a bunch of coaches out there walking through their plays, and like, the mindset that not just those three guys have, but the other guys around them at practice, the energy, how positive they are, just they love their role. And I think it goes back to when you have a bunch of guys that just want to win, nobody really cares who gets the credit, which is fun.
Yeah, and from the outside, it looks like this team is completely bought into what you've been preaching despite the setbacks. Kind of, why do you think your players have believed in your message, and how have you been able to get the most out of them regardless of the circumstances too?
Well, we've had no choice to not believe. We are what we are, and the hardest part for me, and I think our team, was just changing style of play, and it took a couple weeks to figure that stuff out. We were turning the ball over way too much. Half our team was playing fast, half our team was playing slow. The defensive piece, he was talking to one of my assistants leaving the gym against UMKC, and yeah, we didn't play great. UMKC is struggling to win Division I games. It is what it is. We won on the road, and we walked out, and it was like, man, we're like a month into the season. And I kind of look at him, and it's like, yeah, it feels like December with this group. And he's like, no, it's like July, because, you put your stuff in June, and you slowly get better at it, and hopefully you're good by December or going into conference play. And it's interesting just to kind of step back and look at it like, wow, we are kind of a month into it. And I think part of it is we added 2 experienced guys that were seniors that got an extra year. The guys coming off the bench, Jake has been here for a while. Ethan's in his 3rd year of college basketball. Evan redshirted for us last year. So you can kind of combine all that stuff, and we just have a mature group. You tell them, hey, we're going to change everything, and they're kind of looking at you like, what? And we did it kind of on the fly in the second half against K-State because we were getting our butts kicked and we couldn't press anymore. And that was hard for me to do, but I knew that was probably the best thing for our team. And obviously, we have one of the best bigs in the league with Cam Fens, and the more we can play him, the better we are. And playing a little bit slower, running some plays, keeping him at the rim in our drop coverage with screen and roll has been huge for him, and he's been able to play more minutes. And obviously, we need him if we want to have a chance to win.
Yeah, last one for me. With the way you maneuvered through injuries and kept this team competitive in Summit League play, it's obviously you're kind of a top candidate for the Summit League Coach of the Year. Kind of how much of this season success do you credit to your players fully buying into that process, as well as your coaching staff too?
Yeah, I would say right now there's a lot of deserving guys more than me. Dave's doing a tremendous job at NDSU. Johnny Towers, obviously one of the best coaches in the country every year. Paul, Sather, who's coming to our place in a couple days here with his group, like huge turnaround. That's a really hard job. So I haven't really even thought about that. Don't care about that. The most important piece is just winning. I credit a lot of our success to our players, and then just I mentioned that like having an elite coaching staff. The more I coach, the more I'm into this thing, and being an assistant, now being a head coach, like you got to hire really good people that you trust and let them coach and give them a lot of freedom. There's a lot of coaches that still want to like control the offense, control the defense, and yeah, do I have a say in that? For sure. But when you have good people around that are experienced, that really know what they're doing, you can kind of just let them do their thing. And now being a head coach in this era is very, very different than maybe 5 years ago. There's so much more that's being asked of me outside of basketball with all the changes that like having a really good staff is so important to any good team. So figure that out, and we're getting better every year.
Awesome. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
James, go ahead.
Next, after North Dakota, you have a week off for the first time in probably forever. A week off from competition. What is that going to look like with this group?
That's a good question. So obviously, when the schedule came out, you look at having a bye the first week, and you're just like, man, we just came off Christmas break. But I would say like that was the best thing for us at that time because we were down to 7 players and we needed to fill a roster. So that actually worked out well. Just how we started the press conference talking about 2 overtime games and then going to South Dakota State was really worried about our legs and just being fresh. Get the injury report yesterday and like nothing major where guys are out, but it's just like every player is just something nagging or, bruised something or, just right down the line. So it's going to take a really strong effort against UND, who's one of the best teams in our league. And then, we're going to do some recovery. Like we'll practice. We'll take 2 days off at some point because we need to. I think part of that too is just mentally getting a couple days away because we have a tough road swing right after that. Playing at Denver, who's playing really well, just swept the Dakotas. And 2 years in a row now, we have to go to Oral Roberts right after that with them coming off a bye, which, kind of stinks. But, those are 2 really tough games on the road for us. And if we can have some success in those games, we know we got Omaha and South Dakota State to finish. So we have to be fresh mentally. I think that's most of it. When your mind goes, your legs can go a little bit too. And I think a lot of our mistakes against St. Thomas in the second half, against North Dakota State in overtime, we were just kind of worn down. So it'll be a much needed break, but day off, practice, couple days off, and then probably practice 3 days leading up to the road trip starting at Denver.
All right, I'm good. Thanks, Coach.
Thank you.
I think that's everything. Thanks, Coach.
Appreciate it. Go Yotes.